What's up, everybody? As a historian, one thing that's important is that you keep reading and you keep understanding new things that have come out of the archives, and you keep reading monographs and edited works. And I was contacted a few weeks ago by my friend Andrew Capets, and he said that he would love to send me his book. And I said, absolutely. I love to read and I need to keep up on it. And I said, I'll even review it if you want me to, and throw it up online and see if anyone else would be interested in your book. And he said, yes. So here I am. Uh, I've done book reviews in written form for years, but I think that the new thing to do would be to do it through video because it's easy for you to just sit back and listen to it. You don't have to read anything that may bore you as far as a book review because sometimes they can be really boring. But this is a new way to reach out and get books out into the public that's different and new. And I've seen others do it. I wanted to jump on that and I wanted to do it as well. And I have a lot of friends who've written a lot of books. So hopefully this will be a way that we can get more history out there and more history books onto your shelves. And a few weeks ago, Andrew sent me this book, and it took me like 2 weeks to read it because I'm just so busy right now. But in the evenings, I would read for a couple hours, and I'm reading probably 6 books at one time. So as I finish them, I pick up another book, and my brain is wired to where I can't read just one book. I have to read like 4, 5, 6 at one time to keep my brain going. I like chaos. That works for me. But Andrew's book is called Good War, Great Men. And this book is about the 313th Machine Gun Battalion, who were members of the 80th Division in World War One. Andrew's grandfather was in the 313th Machine Gun Battalion, and much like the rest of us, when we find a personal connection with the past, we want to find out more about it. Andrew was like that. In fact, he opens the book up with a story of a Memorial Day ceremony where he is a young child and he's looking at the World War One memorial in his hometown, which is much like what a lot of us see in our hometowns, where it'll be maybe a statue or it'll be a plaque with names on it. And he was looking over the names and he noticed that 2 names were added after the fact. So they weren't on the original tablet, they were added later. One of whom was his grandfather. And as the speaker was introducing veterans and dignitaries, they accidentally left out Andrew's grandfather. And the speaker turned and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. We almost forgot about you again." And that was in the beginning of the book, in the introduction, and that really struck me. Because often I say the World War One generation is one of the most forgotten. And right away, I was like, okay, why was this guy and why was this man and this unit partially forgotten? And Andrew went through and found many primary sources, many letters from men in that same unit, pieced them all together into a very readable narrative, and put it into this book. And I think it's fascinating. I think it's a great book. I think that you would get a lot of enjoyment out of it because it's personal. It's what we would have experienced if we would have been drafted into the U.S. Army in World War One, and much of the Army is drafted in World War One. The 80th Division is a draftee division, and so you get a mix, a blend of Americana in this division. Now, obviously, there's still segregation issues in World War One, so these are going to be either white soldiers or they're going to be Hispanic soldiers, even Native American uh, soldiers. But black soldiers were kept in different divisions at that time. That was the way the segregation system worked in the U.S. Army up until the Korean War. So even with that segregationist policy, you still get a blend of historians coming together in these units, in these draftee divisions like the 80th Division. So you'll have different religions, you'll have different cultures, you'll have different languages being spoken, different political views, obviously, all coming together and meshing into one. And you learn about their style and their personalities through their original letters. So I love these books like this that draw original letters in, showcase what these men thought of joining the Army as a draftee, what they thought of their experience in training going overseas, hitting the Western Front, what they experienced in the largest campaign in U.S. Army history, which is the Meuse Argonne, which is detailed in this book, and then what they experienced after the war. And the great part is that Andrew not only prints the letters, but he gives background on the event as we're going forward. Sometimes people just publish the letters and they say, here you go, this is letters from my great grandfather in World War One or my grandfather in World War Two, and they don't give a lot of historical background. Andrew does a good job of not falling into that trap. He goes forward and says, okay, at this time, this is where they would have been, this is what was happening in this sector, and here are the letters that correspond to that event, which is fantastic because you get to read along with each one. And as a historian, if I'm just looking for something on training, I can turn to that part of the book and I can find just training of the Machine Gun Battalion in World War One, and then I can come up with new data for a program I'm doing through that. So it is divided up very well. The book flows very well. It's very easy to read. It's not very small print. I didn't need to put my reading glasses on, so it was good. It's available on Amazon, so you can just go on Amazon, look up Andrew Capets, leads you right to this book. You can get it in multiple formats. I think there's a Kindle format, and there's obviously a paperback format. And it's worth your time and it's worth the read. We just passed the centennial of World War One, but that doesn't mean we have to forget about these guys again. And I would say looking at these primary source materials is the heart of understanding that time. I like letters from the period more than I do memoirs because memoirs can be whitewashed, so to speak. They could downplay the bad times to make the story a little better, or they could say they can embellish what they did to make themselves look better. That happens from time to time. Letters from the period are raw and emotional and come through when you read them. Even though these letters are going through a censor, there are times where you can still get great information from them. Or someone like Andrew wouldn't write a book about it. If it's boring, they're not going to write a book. So look for original letters from any event in history. If you can find original letters, that's going to be a better primary source material, in my opinion, than a memoir. Because as I said, a memoir can be tweaked, it can be edited, it can be embellished. Something can be downplayed, which actually would have been a major event. So I would highly suggest picking this book up for a better understanding of the World War One experience of the American soldier and the World War One experience of a draftee division, a division which comes together from all different walks of life. It really showcases their efforts to conform to the military style of work and of getting out there and going into combat and sticking together and going through all the hardships. All the personal experiences are amazing, and I would highly suggest you pick up Andrew's book. Again, that's Good War, Great Men by Andrew Capets. A great flowing piece, well researched, a lot of good primary sources in this piece, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want to thank Andrew for sending me a copy of his book just out of the blue. He didn't expect me to do a book review. He just wanted me to sit and read it and enjoy it, and I did enjoy it, and I highly recommend it to other people who are interested in that period of history, because it's more primary source material for you to look at and ponder what you would have done in those experiences, because these are just so personal. So thanks for watching. I have another book that I'm going to be reviewing soon as well, and I hear there might be one more on the way. So as I get more books in and I get to shed light on new sources, I'm going to put them up on here, and I'm going to review some more books, which I love to do. And if you have any monographs that you want to send to me or talk to me about, I would love to hear from you. Please message me, let me know, and I answer all my messages. So don't think that I don't read everything you send to me. I enjoy it. I love it. Please keep in touch with me whenever one of these monographs comes around. I would love to read it. So thanks a lot for watching. Take care.